DCKO Issue 2 is out, and this event is already off to an amazing start. Issue 1 was a great setup for this entire tournament arc, setting up the stakes, as well as doing some unexpected twists and turns towards the end for the overall brackets and how we got these brackets, and the fact that Batman got eliminated literally before the official rounds actually started, which was already something no one expected. But then again, Batman Night Fight is already going on as a KO tie-in. I don't know if I'll cover that yet, but we'll see. Either way, Issue 2 of DCKO is out, and the next round of the tournament has begun, and even more unexpected things happen in this whole damn issue that it's a lot to really break down, and I honestly could not stop smiling throughout the entirety of this issue. But before we jump into the events of DCKO number 2, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Hype the video, shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel, and shows you want to see more. I'm going to try my best to cover every single issue of DCKO up until its finale, because this is probably the biggest event in DC in modern days, and I really want to be here for the whole thing. But with that out of the way, let's just jump right into the issue. Now, the issue starts off with a bit of a flashback of the game night between Bruce, Diana, Lois, and Clark. As while they're playing this game, they go through a hypothetical of what each of them would be if they weren't superheroes, if they had no powers, or what they'd be doing if they weren't doing what they were doing, with Bruce being a doctor, Diana being like a tour guide for ancient sites and stuff like that, involving the importance of history, and Bruce says that Clark would be president. Honestly, I don't really mind that. I actually think that is interesting to see. But through that, we end up going back to the present of the tournament as we enter what is an open space with the ruins of eternal gods and deities from this universe, as now all the combatants are here. And the Heart of Apocalypse speaks to all the participants as it explains the rules of this next round of the tournament. There are a vast amount of items from the DC universe scattered throughout this space, and once all of the items are acquired by a fighter each, those fighters will move on and go to the next round, while everyone who has not acquired an item are eliminated and die, obviously. Now, we actually get to see a really nice spread of what these items are. We have Blue Beetle Scarab, the Godkiller Sword, the Whirlagog, Adam's Belt, a Mother Box, Psycho Pirate's Medusa Mask, Thor's Hammer, Bane's Venom, a Speed Force Ring, the Power Rings, the Genie Pen, the Claw of Horus, the Soul Taker Sword, the Lasso of Truth, the Cosmic Rod, and a mysterious item. And once all these 16 items are acquired, that's when we move on to the next round. Now, what's interesting is that this final item is very interesting once we get into its actual identity, but we also get another closing remark from the Heart of Apocalypse saying that those that follow the example of Darskeid will be greatly rewarded. Now, this comes back towards the end of the issue because the way this is worded is very important. And now the actual round begins, and all the participants run forward to scavenge throughout the area to try and find the items that they believe they would need, or at least any item in general, just to make it to the next round. And obviously there are multitudes of different characters that are drawn to specific items like Cyborg and the Mother Box, but Luthor has multiples of different scanners and devices in order to detect things, so obviously Lex will be more easily able to find whatever items he needs to find. And so Superman, knowing this, goes after Lex. All while everyone is still fighting to try and find their ways to all these different items, Superman grabs Lex and throws him into a skull. There's then transition to Diana fighting Etrigan over Adam's Belt until Giganta shows up to, well, interfere with the fight and grab the item as well. But it's then that someone hovering over says, "Do you really think you'll be able to get this belt?" As we see the Joker manage to sneak and grab Adam's belt and is now the size of a giant. And what does he do next? With Giganta saying we're on the same team, Joker, being the Joker, just squashes her underneath his foot. I kind of like the whole addition of the parental advisory warning for explicit content just put through in this. Don't know why it's there. I find it funny, but yeah, kind of gory. Giganta gets stomped, and then Connor, Hall, Hawkeye, and Cheetah are next on Joker's list as he eats them. So Joker confirmed cannibal at this point, which, you know what, whatever, it's the Joker. He is chaotic, he does whatever the hell he wants most of the time. We then cut to Metamorpho and Plastic Man fighting over the Godkiller Sword. Now, Plastic Man says the stupid thing on how he upgraded his body, and Metamorpho decides, I'll make my body out of that and add it with something else, thus making E.L. O'Brien melt and go into pain. So that was kind of ruthless. As Starro appears as well to try and grab the sword, but the OG Jay Garrick grabs it at the last second. As we transition over to Guy Gardner, about to grab the Speed Force ring, but right as he's about to get it, he's knocked out by Harley Quinn. As Harley grabs the Speed Force ring and instantly gets the power of the Speed Force. Also, I'm just going to say this right now, Guy is a punching bag throughout this entire issue, and I love how anyone that writes Guy Gardner in any type of crossover or whatever always finds some way to just shit on him in some random way possible. And I kind of love it. It's funny. Guy is the punching bag of the DC universe half the time, and half the time he doesn't deserve it, but at the same time, it's also funny. But moving on. Superman is still fighting Lex, going forward and back, but it's then that Lex unleashes a bunch of kryptonite in his chest that he managed to store up. Due to the events of Superman Unlimited, there is even more kryptonite on Earth than ever before, in all the myriad of different colors with all their different effects. And while Superman is weakened, Lex manages to shoot Superman with a couple of kryptonite bullets and stab one kryptonite shard into his chest. But also, since they were in the Phantom Zone, he made a Phantom Zone sword and sliced off Superman's right arm, which is brutal as hell. Was not expecting Superman to get maimed so early on in the event, but man, Lex is getting really intense in this. But Lex goes on to say that he made an epiphany during this entire debacle and how he was sealed away within this whole extra space that Superman sealed all the villains in before the tournament started to keep them out. And he also says how when they entered, he had a vision of what would happen when he reigned supreme and gained the power of the King Omega, and asked Superman what his vision was. And Lex, knowing Superman so well, instantly realized that yeah, even though he saw this, Superman would just reject it instantly and just want things to go back to normal. And so Lex kind of reveals why he hates Superman so much and really came to the realization it's that Superman doesn't go far enough. It's not that he doesn't do enough. It's not the fact that he has stuff that he doesn't. It's the fact that Superman doesn't go far enough and that he never will. And so that's why after leaving Superman there with a kryptonite shard in his chest and weakened throughout this entire combat and ordeal, he goes off to find the item he needs so that he can do what needs to be done through his eyes. And I do like how, despite this only being a brief interaction with Superman and Lex in this issue, it's a nice way to deconstruct and really dig deep even more into their relationship and Lex's hatred of Superman. That's something I always kind of like to see in any iteration of the character, or even in mainline comics, or however it's done throughout, depending on the writer, is how they interpret Lex's hatred of Superman and how he does things. And I think this also makes a lot of sense. Superman has all this power, and Lex, while having, millions of dollars, he's got his intellect, he knows that Superman can do more, and that's why he hates him. He's basically describing Injustice Superman to a degree, with being able to kind of put people under his foot and do what needs to be done, or what he views the world to be to make it better. And so that's why Lex hates him. So I kind of find that really interesting. Now, while Superman is lying down on the ground, Guy Gardner, coming in on his construct jet, tries to grab the Claw of Horus, but it's in that Hawkman grabs it because obviously he is drawn to it. Cyborg manages to find a mother box and attach itself. We then see Big Barda, Etrigan, and Swamp Thing battling it out over the Soul Taker sword, all while Lobo is in the background. And Lobo manages to find the venom of Bane and tries to attach it as well. But then Starro shows up and grabs him, but he's too late. Lobo then injects himself with all the venom, and then dismembers Starro into multiple pieces. But right as Lobo, roided up by Venom, is so confident in his victory now that he's got the item to move on, Starro reveals something about starfishes, that they regenerate and multiply, and so now, thanks to Lobo, there are a bunch of different Starros in the area, as they go on to take over multiple DC heroes and villains, taking over Power Girl, Jay Garrick, Wonder Woman, and Firestorm, and many others. And so now Starro had basically created his Starro League, and starts attacking everybody else to try and get as many of these items as possible, until a possessed Wonder Woman goes over to fight Zatanna. And so Zatanna tries to get Diana to grab something that's right beside her, even though Starro is in full control. But it's then what Diana grabbed, and managing to slightly break free from the control of Starro to grab the item, was Thor's hammer, unleashing a massive thunder strike on everybody, freeing them from Starro's control. And in the ensuing chaos, Guy, for a third time, tries to grab an item, which is Blue Beetle Scarab. But at the last second, Jason Todd appears and grabs it and installs it instantly. And what does he do the second he grabs the Blue Beetle Scarab? He unleashes an arsenal and tries to hit Joker, who is still giant from this point, in order to kind of get his revenge and throw it at a punchline. But then Harley Quinn, with the Speed Force, goes in saying, "No way, bub. I call dibs on the Joker." And Joker saying, "Man, I love when people fight over me." He shrinks and manages to dodge out of the way of the Blue Beetle Blast from Jason Todd, and now no one knows where the Joker is. But we then cut to Big Barda, as it's revealed that the Joker, he shrank so small that he made her way into her head, and now he's kind of wrangling around in there, causing Internal's distress. A part of me was kind of expecting Joker to just, gigantify inside her head and kill her from that instance, because I wouldn't put that past the Joker. But, I guess he's just causing agony at this point. He's got his item. He's just having fun. We then see that the pen is over in that area, and Vixen goes over to try and get the pen. But it's then that King Shark appears to try and grab it, but Vixen says, "Hey look, have you ever been to Dinosaur Island? I know you're the Great White Shark, but have you been to Dinosaur Island? Because my totem and powers can give me the abilities of multiple animals, including the prehistoric ones on Dinosaur Island," as Vixen then gains the powers of a Megalodon and crunches down and slashes down onto King Shark. I gotta read more stuff with Vixen. She is really damn cool and I love her powers. But right as she deals with King Shark, the pen is gone, as it's revealed that Etrigan managed to grab the pen while no one was looking, but Metamorpho and Zatanna are still fighting over the Godkiller sword as Zatanna grabs it. And so now she says, no matter what, before time runs out, we can't let the Legion of Doom grab any of these items and move on to the tournament. I then see all of the power rings of the emotional spectrum out in the open as Lex thunders towards them. But it's then that Star Sapphire appears and slams Luthor into the ground, making sure that he doesn't grab any more of the power rings, while also getting some payback for Superman. And just like that, Star Sapphire grabs all of the power rings. Now this is an insane thing, considering the fact that she's now able to use all of the emotional spectrum, and by using all the power rings, she is already one of the strongest contenders in this tournament at this point. But Lex trying to snap one away from her, she says she still has all the power rings. But Lex reveals, "Yeah, but I managed to snack one of them from you, and it was the one I was actually after. The ring of the Black Lantern." And while Star Sapphire's like, what is one black power ring gonna do? But it's then that Luthor reveals, "Are you sure that this isn't enough?" As she's getting ready to fight, thunder cracks in the background, as it's revealed that they are in probably the best place for a Black Lantern, as we'll see in a second. Superman is still weak on the floor. Supergirl goes over towards him to try and give Psycho Pirate's mask to him, saying, "You take this, you gotta survive, I'll find something else." But it's then that Captain Atom hits Supergirl with nuclear rays, blasting her away to grab the mask. Superman knows what he has to do and is going over to try and find more of these items. But from the rumbling, he sees Lex use the Black Lantern ring to create giant zombies of these eternal gods from this graveyard that they're in within this dimension. And Lex has created a near unstoppable army, as a weakened Superman on the ground stares up at Lex Luthor, presenting himself as a god of death, stares down at them as they lock eyes. Flashing back to what we had at the beginning of the issue in the conversation of these characters about what it would be if they didn't have their powers and weren't who they were right now, if they weren't superheroes. Now, the conversation about Superman being president if he wasn't Superman, Clark Kent, Bruce brings up the fact that, well, you would do the most good you could possibly can, and that's why him being president would probably be best for Superman, despite Superman now wanting to be a politician and thinks it's not right for him. But Bruce brings up the fact that Clark is a strategist just like Bruce and Diana. All three of them do this in their own specific ways. And Superman never really thought about, like politics and stuff like that, because he's got Superman. And Bruce brings up the fact that whenever things go around, even in games, you have to figure out a new math in order to figure out a new way of victory or a new way forward. And this is basically bringing up the fact that Clark is basically relying on Superman as a part of his identity and as a part of who he is. He is Clark and Superman, but sometimes one has to give over the other. It's an interesting conversation about how you view yourself and your own identity and how you go about your life and your life decision. At least, either that or I'm reading too far deep into this. But we then cut back to the present with Lex screaming that it's finally over, with Superman realizing that the words that the Heart of Apocalypse spoke about in terms of following the example of Darskeid, he realizes something. Like Darskeid, as an example, gave up his right arm for power, but another condition was to give up his own life. So Clark grabs the kryptonite shard that's on his shoulder, stabs himself in the chest, and kills him. As he ends Superman before Lex kills him by stomping him down with the zombie gods under his control underfoot. And with Lex confident that he won, saying, "Who's the real Superman now, old friend?" a shocking thunder appears, as behind Lex, Superman gets up, saying, "I am Luthor, I'm Superman, and Superman is." By doing the exact conditions that Darskeid did to gain the Omega Factor and become everything he needed with the Miracle Machine and merge with Spectre, Superman has now gained the Omega Sanction. He now has the same powers that Darskeid has, as he unleashes a barrage of Omega beams, going right over, killing all of the zombie gods, trying to take out and stop everybody. Luthor, Joker, everybody. And Luthor, angered, saying that he had beaten Superman, there's no way he can get back up. But Superman says, "No, Luthor, you lose." But before Clark can even end Luthor, Guy, after the fourth try, grabs the final item, and with that, all the champions that are needed to move on to the next realm have gotten all the items that were scattered throughout. And so now everybody begins to move on to the next round, and the losers die and are disintegrated, like Vixen, Batwoman, and Luthor says that they're gonna have to settle things as he was saved by the bell. And so now everybody moves on, with our final 16 competitors being Joker, Etrigan, Jay Garrick Flash, Superman, Guy Gardner, Zatanna, Lobo, Hawkman, Lex Luthor, Harley Quinn, Jason Todd, Red Hood, Aquaman, Cyborg, Swamp Thing, Captain Atom, and Wonder Woman. Now, throughout this entire roster is actually really damn cool. Only really 2 actual villains are in this, and I am absolutely excited to see what happens next, because all these characters have really interesting powers and abilities, and now they all gain their own items, so I'm curious to see how this is going to play out if we get actual tournament matchups one-on-ones, because I thought we were going to get tournament matchups at this point, and then we would move on to future rounds, in between everything else. But no, we had a battle royale for items, and now we're down to the top 16. So hopefully we get one. So I believe now we're going to get one-on-one fights, and these are going to be expanded on in the DCKO Fight Night tie-in events that will give us the full fights. So now we're going to see what happens next. But back at the Watchtower, Time Trapper is actually kind of confident they might be able to pull this off, as long as they keep their powers focused on keeping time still in this moment to prolong Darskeid. But Booster Gold says, unless we don't do this, as he says, there's no need for a new King Omega. We already have ours. Me, Darskeid. As he grabs the neck of the Time Trapper, saying, "And it's time I enter the arena." As after the end of last issue, we knew that Darskeid was possessing Booster Gold the whole time. But now, Booster Gold has revealed himself and is now about to lay waste to the tournament and interfere with things. And that's how DCKO issue 2 ends. Again, I'm excited. The action in this issue was great. I was not expecting the characters to go out the way they did. These weren't all massive one-on-one fights, and the chaos of this trying to find items, the running joke of Guy continuously failing to get any item and only managed to get one, now with Lex doing this Black Lantern chaos stuff, was great. And Superman basically taking it upon himself to end Superman and sacrifice Superman, essentially, a part of himself, now, and acquiring the exact same conditions that Darskeid did, basically led to him gaining Darkseid's powers. So this is something I did not expect, and I am excited because what's going to happen next is anybody's guess, but I'm excited to see how these fights pan out. But you guys let me know in the comments how you think these fights are going to pan out. Are you going to read the next upcoming issue tie-ins? Who do you think is going to win these fights? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and hype the video. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy what I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.